Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and today I am going to be making pulled pork. This is actually a relatively new recipe for me. As much as I'd like to say that I've been doing it for years and learned it from my grandma, it's not. I just was trying to use up a pork tenderloin one weekend and I thought, oh, I'll try to make pulled pork with it. So I looked up a few recipes and I couldn't find one that fit what I needed. I needed to be able to do it in the oven because I can't use a slow cooker. My cat, who you've seen before, he's the reason why I can't use a slow cooker. So oven it is. And then also I looked at a few recipes and then I was like, I'm just gonna do my thing and hope that it all adds up. And it actually turned out like exactly the way I wanted it to. And I've tried this out on a couple people, so it's not just my opinion. But yeah, so I'm going to show you how I make pulled pork. It's really easy. It's like not a lot of work at all. This is going to be one of my fastest videos. So let's get started. So for my pulled pork, I have 2 pieces of pork loin roast. I got like a big pork loin and cut it down into 4 pieces. This is 2 pieces of that. Now the first time I did this, I did use a pork tenderloin, so I just used one. It was enough food actually for about 4 people, and I just put that in a loaf pan. But today I'm going to be using my handy dandy casserole dish. I've got my 2 pieces of pork loin, 3 small onions sliced, and for the rub, so I'm going to put a rub on the pork loin before I put it in the oven, and then at the very end, after I've done my rub, I'm going to go in with the sauce. This is the one I like to use. I could make my own sauce. I used to do that all the time, and this time I was lazy, so I was like, I'm just gonna try this one. Let me tell you, I'm not gonna bother making my own sauce because this one's fine. It's delicious. It came out tasting exactly how I would have wanted my sauce to taste. So if you want to make sauce, you can make sauce. That's fine. But I'm using this. You can use whichever one you like. Now for the rub, I've got 4 tablespoons of paprika and 2 tablespoons of onion powder. To that, I am going to add about a teaspoon of salt, and about a teaspoon of pepper. Now obviously if you're just doing this for 1 piece of meat, you can do half. So the first time I made this, I used 2 tablespoons of paprika, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and half a teaspoon of salt and pepper each. All right, so I'm gonna mix that up. Mix this up. All right, so I've got my dry rub all mixed up. Before I coat my pork, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my casserole dish and I'm just going to put the onions in the bottom. They're going to be the foundation of my little pork bath. And they're also going to be delicious at the end, so dual duty. All right, now that I've set the scene for my pork, I'm going to take my pork and I'm just going to plunk and then plunk and then plunk, and I'm just going to do that until I get my whole piece of pork loin coated in the dry rub. Look at her, she's beautiful. Laying that on top of my onions, going to take my second piece and do the same thing. And the secret ingredient, root beer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook my pork roast in a bath of root beer and onions, which sounds absolutely disgusting. But just, you gotta trust the process. It works. It's delicious. I'm pretty sure you could sub in Coca-Cola for this. I don't know, or like Pepsi. I don't know what other pops might work. I haven't tried any of them, but I'm sure you could get away with a few others. Try it out, see what works, have fun with it. All right, I'm just going to pour my root beer in. I'm gonna use a whole bottle. When I did just the one pork tenderloin, I used a half a bottle. And I just used a smaller container, but if you're using a big container, you'll need more. So kind of figure out what works best for you. Again, I know this looks disgusting. It's fine. It'll be fine. All right, so I am going to cover this tightly with foil, and then I'm going to put it in a 275-degree oven, which I've got preheated. It'll be about 2 hours to cook this to the desired temperature. I'm not going to put the thermometer in right away because I know it's not going to get there in an hour. So at the hour mark, that's when I'll get my thermometer out. But for right now, I'm just going to cover it tightly and put it in the oven. And I'm going to set a timer for 30 minutes. And every 30 minutes, I am going to open it and spoon the liquid back on top of it to keep bits from drying out and burning. So that's what we're doing. All right, I did 2 layers of foil just to get a good seal on it, and I'm gonna pop this in the oven and check on it in a half hour. Okay, so I'm an hour in. We're halfway through our cooking time. I'm going to take off the foil and just kind of baste with the liquid again. Alright, so the key to cooking meat safely is one of these guys, a thermometer. This one does instant read if you just want to check, but I also have an attachment that I can plug in. And it has the cable, so I can just leave that on the counter and watch my temperature. I'm gonna go into this guy because it's the thickest part of the thickest piece, and just go like halfway in. Now that I know where I'm going and I've already created my spot, I'm just gonna go through the foil. So now I'm gonna toss it back in the oven, and we're gonna be aiming for 195, 200 or so. It seems to be a good spot for being able to pull the pork properly. So I'm gonna give it another half hour, baste it again, and then another half hour if needed, and then we'll see where it's at. All right, so there is the pork out of the oven. I left it a little bit. I could have basted it more for the last little bit there. It did take 3 hours instead of 2. I guess these pieces are a lot bigger than the pieces that I used before. I thought they were comparable, but I guess not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the porks out and let them rest on a cutting board under some foil while I fish all of the onions out and put them in their own bowl. I let my meat rest for about 4 minutes after I took it out. Now it is time to get to pulling the pork. I use 2 forks. That's the method that works best for me. But I will say, something I forgot to mention earlier, is that whatever amount of pork you put in and cook, that's the amount of pork that you are going to have to pull in a few hours. So keep that in mind when you're picking your meat. And yeah, just gonna get this all pulled apart, and then it's just about ready. This is actually just one of the pieces of a pork that I have pulled, shredded. I'm just gonna add my barbecue sauce. If things have cooled down too much, then I'll just put it in the microwave to heat it up a little bit. You could put it back in the oven to heat it a bit, but it would probably take some time. Add whatever amount of barbecue sauce seems appropriate to you. You can always add more, so start with a little and then go from there. And yeah, I'll be back with the final product. And there you have it. I'm serving this on brioche buns from Costco. It was $6.99 for 2 dozen, which is great. We actually froze some of them. And I've got carrots, hummus, and a pasta salad. You can serve it with whatever you like. You don't have to put the onions on top. You can throw them away if you don't like them. You could never put them in if you don't want them. Either way, there you have it. Hope this helps.